There we go. Alright, hello guys. Welcome back to AD Talks. Today's topic is neutrality, since I thought it'd be good to do a continuation on the Horde versus Alliance topic for for Azeroth. Today we have Gizlek and Marcus.
Yo.
How you doing?
Welcome in, friends.
Yes, I am going to try raiding whilst doing this. Don't judge me. um,
Oh,
Right.
there's going to be judgment.
as with normal,
Not from me, because I wouldn't know what you're doing anyway.
as with normal podcast talk shows, we tend to do introductions first. What's been going on since, if there's no RP going on with you guys, maybe you could tell us what have you found BFA, like how have you found it so far basically. We can start with Gizlek.
If there's been any RP?
Yeah.
Well, basically, my guild, the Sisterhood, went along with the Sons of Draenor and the Bilgewater Battalion over to Kultiras, and now we're basically in Tiragarde Sound, chasing both pirates and Alliance.
Alright, and how have you found BFA so far?
So far, pretty, I don't know, pretty dead, because everybody's been busy grinding. I mean, damn it. Couldn't RP near enough these days.
Well, what about the
Because
story itself?
everybody's farming, but the stories, let's just say Alliance for me is but the story behind Rastakhan has me kind of more captivated right now.
Alright, fair.
It is pretty cool.
What about you, Marcus? What have you been up to, and how have you found BFA so far?
Hello. Well, I've been working on what to do with the guild in BFA now, because I'm GM of Myrmidon, and we're just discussing now what we're going to do with BFA, how we're going to approach it. As for RP, haven't really been doing much. I logged onto my ult twice or so. But as for what I think of BFA, yeah, it's alright. As for the game itself, don't actually like WoW, so I haven't really been doing any content. But as for the lore, I think it's alright. They've got the usual problem of a complete lack of subtlety, like in Just Far specifically, where you've got the witches. I was hoping it would be a bit more underground, a less obvious threat, but that wasn't the case. You know, it was reskinned invasion. But I really like, I love the zones. I think there's so much to do there, so I'm really excited to see where we're going with BFA.
Alright, fair dues. Well, we can move on to the questions basically. In an expansion which pretty much pushes the whole war and faction identities, why would someone go neutral when it's like the two biggest factions, you know? Like why do you think someone would go neutral, and you know, in your words basically?
Profit.
Profit? What about you, Marcus?
That's a pretty big one. Profit and not wanting to get murdered. Self-preservation.
But you've seen the way how they've been recruiting allied races and stuff. Do you think self-preservation is a reason to stay without a faction now, since they're kind of enforcing join the Horde or join the Alliance ID?
Well, the Culturans chose to join the Alliance. They were just like, hey, yeah, you helped us out.
Yes.
Well, I guess we'll join you then.
But without the Alliance, they would be crushed by the Horde, wouldn't they?
That's true. But
I mean,
I'm
I
not
think it
talking.
depends on your perspective on it.
I'm not really talking about massive nations, but so much just a person and why they'd like to keep their head out of things, just because they want to stay alive.
I gotta say though, if you're a MAGA from alternate Draenor, you kinda got your butt saved from a bunch of zealous Draenei.
True.
A bit of a spoiler there.
Why, if you're a sailor, why fight the Horde when you can make money and not die doing it?
True
We need
there
more
as well.
orcish sailors.
There's, I imagine there's something to be said as well for the, for a sort of political standpoint. If you don't necessarily agree with your faction's doing, but you obviously can't exactly align with the other faction in a wartime scenario, so you're probably just stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that's more of a problem for Horde races than it is.
Yeah,
Alliances.
because, you know, someone had a grudge with the tree. But, yeah.
I found that
Rest in peace,
strange with
dumbasses.
I saw it. Okay, I saw a post today on the forums with a Draenei basically saying that they want to join the Horde IC, which is weird to me, because why would a Draenei want to join the Horde? You know.
Shadow Hand.
Did
What?
she give a reason?
I can't remember, to be honest, but it was kind of like a where can I go? Is there a community for people who kind of side with the other faction more than the one I'm
mean,
currently in, basically.
She claims to have worked on it for years, basically. I see in RP, but quite frankly, if you want my opinion, Shattered Hand is the way to go.
Shadowdan do have a dwarf in their team side, don't they?
They used to, but they have plenty of spies and Stormwind, so there's reasons.
Who are the Shattered Hand?
They're like SI7 of the Horde, basically.
Ah, right, okay.
Orc spies.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. I mean, let's move on to the next question. Then, is there a character in neutral terms that stands out to you when the word neutral is thrown around? Yeah.
Khadgar.
All right.
He's pretty much
Yeah.
true neutral.
He is.
Dadgar. Where is Dadgar?
He's just chilling, isn't he? He's putting his feet up,
Retired.
having a cup of tea.
I mean, there's this prestigious fellow called, I believe, Dr. Noggenfogger. He's very neutral.
Is he neutral
And
anymore though?
And
He's
represents
chaotic.
Goblinity. And represents Goblinity at its finest. Alchemy.
Is he even neutral anymore though? Because
He is.
the Steam Leader are kind of
He's-
enforcing themselves onto the Horde, and he's Steam Leader, right?
Well, I was killing Steamwheel in a quest the other day.
Oh. I've seen a lot of alliance going against it.
Coast of Stormsong, was it? There's the Tortullan camp, and there's Steamweedle.
Oh no, I think those are Venture.
Yeah, but Venture Co.
Are they
is...
Venture Co?
They are, or
Oh,
at least
okay.
used to be. I think they still are with the Steamwheel cartel. That's the thing. They're the loose cannons, if you will.
I don't believe they are, but that's an argument for Goblin RP talk anyway.
Ventureco's
That's
neutral.
a whole other topic.
It's
Yeah,
hostile to both sides, though, isn't it?
Which
It
cartel
is,
is
yeah.
which?
because they're not very sensible about the way they go about money making.
Yeah, so it goes back to profit. Just gotta make that money, don't matter who you're killing or frustrating.
I mean, they're basically digging oil all the time.
Yeah.
Is there a place for neutrality with the current state of law? Like, it's becoming increasingly difficult to uphold the notion of a neutral stance when two of the biggest factions are at each other's throats.
Well, I can imagine Pandaria and Dalaran are like no conflict zones.
I think Shadowpan are actually helping. Was it the Alliance or Horde? They were helping. I think it's the Horde with the Mogushan, if I remember correctly. So there's some sort of
would make
interaction
sense.
there.
When they were helping the Horde, were they helping the Horde get back at the Alliance, or were they just
No,
helping
I think
the
they were
Horde?
helping the Horde deal with the.
The Mogushan threat. Yeah.
Because that's not so much picking a side in a war, it's just
It means that they're somewhat noticeable of it, and they're kind
Well,
of like
they're
there
an
basically.
alliance.
that's just going, momentarily joining sides to combat a mutual threat.
There is that, yeah. I mean, well, what about RP wise in like outside of Pandaria? Because I don't think many people actually RP in Pandaria now.
Well, there's Dalaran.
Sadly,
There's not a lot of
people could.
lore or
They could,
anything as
yeah.
well.
The what? Sorry.
There's not a lot of lore or anything as well to support what is actually going on with those zones at the moment.
There's not a
No.
lot of lore going on to support the
Anything
current
in
neutral
general?
factions as well.
There's
With,
not
like,
enough lore to support anything.
Yeah, that's true.
I might be wrong here, but I'm not sure about the Cenarian Circle, the Silver Hand, the Urban Blade.
No, those are universal neutral class factions that are often in the very background of the class storylines, if you will.
Yeah.
They happen to be very, very far in the background. The only reason the Urban Ring was in the foreground during the Cataclysm was because the Twilight's Hammer was in everybody's face. So they had to take a more active stance.
But do you think they're going to take any stance with the battle, or are they going to kind of follow Magni with healing?
They're currently very much with Magni, actually. They as well as the Cenarian Circle.
I imagine the tourist for them would be pretty much with Khadgar as well. Is there an event in lore that has made you feel that there might still be a place where the Horde and Alliance can coexist with one another? Like work towards a great cause and achieve ultimate peace?
The inevitable end boss of Battle for Azeroth is probably going to bring both factions together.
But
Really, I would be very disappointed if
Yeah,
they do
so
that.
would I, but I'm calling it here.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
really call that
probably not
ultimate peace
truth.
because that happened with Cataclysm, right? And
Exactly.
Mists of
They've done
Pandaria.
that like 3 times before, which is why I would be massively disappointed if they drag that cart out again.
Well, we've had massive Legion invasions, we've had, Deathwing trying to break the world, we've had it all. I don't think there'll ever be anything, because at the end of the day, if Blizzard want a faction war, they will pull anything out of their backsides and say, now there's a faction war. Like turning Sylvanas into an unnecessarily genocidal maniac.
Yeah, there's that.
Not saying that she shouldn't be a genocidal maniac, just that she's unnecessarily genocidal.
Yeah, I'd always seen her as quite level-headed and efficient and practical, perhaps to
Yeah.
the point of ruthlessness, but never unnecessary, which is what caught me off guard about it originally.
Yeah.
It
But
was
that's not the
impulsive
topic.
and spiteful.
Yeah, which is not how I'd seen her character beforehand, but that's not neutrality, so we'll move on.
but without Blizzard sort of like writing where they kind of shift things from, being all casual with one another to chaos once again erupting, do you actually believe that there could be a standing point where there's just, ultimate peace between the two?
Well, there was almost
Nope.
peace with Thrall and Varian, but then the Twilight Hammer came along and
Yeah, attack the summit.
yeah. So yeah, it could happen, but I don't think Blizzard wants it to happen.
I think there's always going to be pockets of coexistence, like the port towns and things like that. There's always going to be that element of it there, but I don't know if there's ever going to be like widespread peace, personally.
I don't think it'll
Because you
ever
take
be
out your
there
main
either.
source of conflict.
Yeah. Because there always be the looming quote-unquote war crimes that they've committed against each other, and it's just a card that can be pulled at any moment to give them a reason to throw a punch,
Yep.
Yeah, countless reasons to go to war with each faction.
But I mean, hypothetically, if they were to, work with one another, how do you think that this whole leading, like who would lead who, and
Well,
would
there
it be a
couldn't
council? Would there be a singular leader?
Well, world peace doesn't mean a singular nation. It
I
just
know,
means.
but theoretically, if they were to join up,
Oh well, I don't think that could ever happen. I don't think there is a scenario where that could realistically take place.
Yeah, there's far too many things speaking against it.
Racial
Even
hatreds.
if you were to swap out any leaders, there's just too many arguments against it.
There's the idea that just one faction just overpowers the other and imposes their rule over the other.
Which is what Sylvanas is trying to do.
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah, that
interested
was
to
kind
see
of
if
the
that
game
actually
plan.
plays out at the end of the expansion, rather than the whole let's shake hands and help each other out in this, pickle.
I mean, for one faction to like straight up win and
It'd be a
essentially
continuation,
uphill-
though, if you know what I mean.
See, I think it would be really, really interesting, especially as as for players of the Alliance, because then they are kind of like an occupied force, which is something I don't think they've had to contend with before in terms of RP and lore. But I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think it's going to happen at all. But yeah, the only way these two great powers could ever be a single entity is if one was to force the other.
Do you think any of the neutral orders, as we mentioned before, with Kirin or Cenarian Circle and all that, is there any way that they'll kind of pick a side, basically? Maybe one's doing more harm than the other to the world, and they kind of see them as evil. For example, with Sylvanas burning the tree down, basically.
I mean, I'm going to admit I am biased towards the Alliance, but I don't think it would make sense for any of these neutral factions who say they're doing what they're doing for the greater good of the world to join the Horde at all. You know, but from a gameplay stance, I don't think any factions will pick a side unless like they have this big thing where an equal amount of neutral factions join either side, because they don't really like Blizz don't like really like one faction getting their leg up on the other. It's always got to be equal.
Yeah. Can you imagine the fan base outrage if they dared have
Yeah,
a winner?
but maybe the Silver Hand could expel the Blood Elves and I don't know the Tauren in
Yeah,
quote
Torrent Blood
Paladins.
Elves.
Okay, well maybe they could be expelled and the Silver Hand return to their roots, but I don't think it will happen. But realistically, it could.
But that's about the extent of neutral factions perhaps jumping ship for one of the both factions.
I think the Ebon Blade are probably the most likely, like out of all of them, to just keep their nose out of it.
Yeah.
No, why would they? I mean, maybe the important knights, but the Alliance and Horde aligned knights can do whatever the hell they want as long as they heed the call of the Ebon Blade.
Well, aren't they back in cahoots with the Lich King now?
I don't think they are. I think they kind of just, cooperate with him throughout the Legion invasion.
Oh, right, okay.
It's a tentative cooperation or something. I mean, it's a bit complicated considering they now have the Four Horsemen back.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the next one, I suppose. How do you feel about neutrality in roleplay among peers, or does or others that seem to disagree with it? Because there's sometimes this strong idea that neutrality is, to put it bluntly, shitty roleplay, basically.
I think people who say that, I'm going to be equally blunt as stupid. I don't think it's a reasonable opinion to hold.
And how do you feel about it?
I mean, it's like any other RP. It can be done well, it can be done poorly, but to just bash neutral RP in general is silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could call, for instance, Peon RP stupid, yet the peons we've been seeing in the past few months have been rather experienced role players who've done well for 99% of the part. We've only seen one peon out of line.
Alright. Well, what are the perks of going neutral within a roleplay setting? Are there any restrictions that come with it too?
Profit.
Yeah, it changes your options, doesn't it? Because you'll get dodgy eyes if you take part in a big PvP event, because people are like, oh, these neutrals shouldn't be here, they need to get out. And
what if you get money for doing that?
What, so do you mean like a war bonds of sort?
Yeah, just a hired assassin, a hired mercenary.
Well, if you're being
nothing personal.
If you're being hired by one faction to target the other, you're not really neutral, then are you? It's like,
yeah, you can only do that kind of thing for so long as well before either faction kind of realizes who you're actually, being paid for. Even if you're not, technically on their side, they'll be like, he's obviously killing people here, so we should probably not let him in. And then at that point,
it depends on who you associate with.
That's true.
Also depends how you play it out, if you're sneaky about it or not.
Exactly.
it opens more locations, so being neutral.
What sort of roleplay? Aside from mercenary, obviously.
Well, privateering. I guess I'll just go do a minor plug there.
Privateering, I guess criminal
Traders
roleplay.
tend to be quite
Traders,
neutral, yeah.
Yeah.
They call us traders instead of criminals. So judgy, Fuse.
You are criminals. I saw you steal that candy from the kid. I forgot what I was going to say now.
I think most civilian kind of things are probably pretty flexible.
Merchants as well.
you can go
pirates.
to more places and just generally like talk to and engage with many more groups as a neutral roleplay.
Incidentally, as a goblin, you can still roam around Borealis so long as you know what you're doing. I tried.
Goblins are pretty versatile that way, aren't they?
Goblins are. They play both fields really, and whatever field gives the most money basically.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, even the Horde aligned goblins probably would play both fields if it came to profit. And I'm pretty sure most people in the Horde know that and kind of just take that as part of the package with with
Yeah.
the goblins.
Well, I mean, on the other hand, some goblins know not to cross Gallowix.
Yep, there is angering the big, chubby trade prince. Well, what are the perks of going neutral? Right, I've read through that one. Do you ever feel a disconnection from some aspects of roleplay, or feel others might when roleplaying a neutral?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't feel any of them personally, but I can. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I can sort of understand that you are more or less excluded from the faction war. Taking a direct participation in the faction war is not something that many people like neutral RPers to do.
Depending on the profession you pick, though, as well, though.
Well, if you're playing like a mercenary guild, yeah, you can throw your lot in with one faction and say, all right, we've been paid, we fight here, we get a bunch of dosh. But that's not really neutral RP anymore because you've chose a side, even if it is just for money. And you know, if you then withdraw and say, okay, we're neutral again, you've still committed crimes against, you know, the opposite power, and they'll probably want you to answer for it. So you could say yes, we're neutral, and maybe you could try to hide under that guise for a while, but there will be those who will want to
So, like Gizlik's
get back
crew.
at you.
Would you say
Are you a
your
merc
crew is
band?
like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that a ship?
Sounded like a yeah. You have a motor going on in your house or something?
Yeah, it's called traffic. It's a phenomenon that happens in urban environments.
Well, I've never heard of this traffic before.
That sounded like a cruise ship horn, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it did.
It was probably a van.
Sorry, carrying on.
Fair dues. Cross RP, a new add-on has been recently made and pieced together for role-playing realms. Must have opened up opportunities for some neutral roleplay between both factions. What's your thought on it, and have you experimented with it at all?
Well, the shaman community uses it a lot. The rogue community uses it a lot. And the Pandaren community uses it a lot, even though, you know, they can talk with each other, but the ability to emote naturally helps, and the non-Pandaren haven't been complaining, so I think that's a good thing.
I think it's really awesome. Although the extent of my use has been in an event where instead of using an orb of deception and then prisms to take the guise of a horde race character, you can now just pick your orc or your undead or whatever and just play that in a event which an alliance guild is hosting, which is really handy. So it hasn't been really a revolution for me, more just a convenience.
Alright. How's it been, with event creating? Has there been, aside from the social gatherings, has there been any way for you to be able to create an event where you're sort of maybe, exploring runes together, or doing some sort of brawl, something like that?
Well,
Right?
I don't
Or
really
if you
know
haven't
what you
done
mean.
it, do you think... Because normally with events you have raid warnings and stuff, but it's difficult to do that because you can't place people into a group to do those raid warnings from the opposite faction, right?
I see. Yeah.
Hold on.
You've got pink spikers, like.
Yeah, you're having a bit of a robot moment. Uh,
Is your phone near your headset? That sometimes messes with mine.
It's about
we're having some technical difficulties at the moment, guys.
like,
We've invited
wait.
R2D2 into the chat.
He's not neutral.
so
Pretty sure he's not neutral.
Oh wait, they're both
Okay.
robots for me now.
Yep, they're both robots.
40 minutes.
Do you guys want a minute or two to sort that out? Me and Jake can fill out the...
Have I seen a
Oh,
robot?
you're fine. Okay, that's one.
You're right, Marky. So if
So
you could
leaving
just,
and re-entering works.
if you could
I
just
I just stayed inside and it kind of fixed itself, I think.
yeah,
Alright.
Discord gets like big connectivity issues.
Oh yeah, it fixed itself. Staying inside, people. That's what helps.
Alright. What did I ask you again? Oh yeah, events. Basically, what was you saying about that, Gizlet, before you went all R2D2 on us?
Yeah, you may not be able to make raid warnings for both factions, but you can most definitely use /RP if you use the cross RP add-on. It's pretty much the same as a raid warning.
Have you seen anyone create
Or
cross-faction
RP warning,
guilds
actually.
using that as well?
Cross faction. I haven't actually seen any cross faction guilds created, I must admit.
Do you think that
I've
would
been
be a good
keeping an
idea?
eye out. Don't know, maybe people keep telling me bring the freelancers back, but quite frankly, the freelancers' time is over.
I was going to
I'm
say
yet to
something,
see any
but
cross-faction guilds myself. I think it's quite difficult right now, and I
Yeah.
don't know if this
Far too
expansion is
difficult.
really when people want to be exploring that theme all too much.
Yeah.
I think it's a good expansion to explore the theme if you're going for pirate.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, to be fair, it is kind of a
Yar,
pirate heavy
stop the
expansion.
faction war. I'm sorry.
To be fair though, even though the whole expansion's about Horde versus Alliance, that's obviously going to completely not radicalize, but it's going to completely isolate the people that would have been maybe sort of considering neutrality. So you might get a more hardcore bunch of players that would be interested in that just because they've been driven out by the intensity of the current situation. But then again, you probably have a lot, you know, it's probably a very niche thing.
I mean, you can always go Twilight's Hammer.
For what?
Yeah. Twilight's Hammer, they don't
Twilight's
discriminate.
Hammer. Yeah, true. I always forget they exist.
They hate the entire planet equally.
I guess I should join their course then. Um,
Cultist 101.
I mean,
Jesus, find the guild for him.
yeah, I hate everything. I want to destroy things, so I mean that's the guild for me right there. Were you both have neutral characters, right? Were they to pick a side, which side would they pick and why?
Alliance. Because, well, he's Worgen, so he was a human. The orcs destroyed Gilneas, and there's still a grudge there. But neutrality is now it's a safety net to keep those important away from danger.
All right.
Don't take part in the war, because that way you're not going to get caught up in a big battle.
Unless you're seriously unlucky.
Yes, and that's happened.
For McGowan, it's pretty difficult because he's very cautious about which people he associates with. But I guess he'd be leaning more closely to the Alliance because his style of operating correlates very closely to the way the SI7 operate. So I suppose the Alliance would be a very thinly veiled maybe from a goblin. And my Pandaren just straight up wouldn't.
Yeah, with races other than, well, Goblin and Pandaren, I think it's very difficult to ever consider the other side.
Yeah, unless you're going SI7 or Shared Hand.
Yeah, I guess, but, you know, for the average Joe who wants to stay neutral for his own safety, if he had to pick a side, you know, he'd pick the side of their countrymen.
Yep.
So, yeah, but other than goblins, because I don't, goblins tend not to have a national identity.
Yeah, they're much more out for themselves, each to their own type thing.
I'll speak about my own characters as well in this part. I mean, I tend to play neutral characters for the most part. Obviously, Ursula would be more alliance-sided, what with Horde burning down the tree and all.
Yeah, I don't think any.
Man, that was
Right.
last month. You guys need to get over the tree.
And what about you, Blood Elves and your Fallen?
Don't talk about that. It's too soon.
My Goblin Dempsey, she'd probably be, at this moment in time, she'd probably be sided with the alliance. I mean, those are the main characters I have are active roleplay wise, so I won't push upon that. Do you have anything to add on that sense, Theo?
My character at the moment is kind of he's in a tricky position because where he was raised. I don't know if this is probably one of those things that people in roleplay would shun me for, because people on AD tend to be very critical of things that are slightly different. But he was actually born and raised in around Stormwind.
Right.
Because that was like almost 200 years ago, back when elves were part of the Alliance. And so yeah, he grew up there. He's got quite an affinity. He's actually only been in the north for like 30, 40 years now. So he spent most of his life around humans. So he's got quite a sort of sympathetic streak towards the Alliance. But at the same time, when he left, he pissed a lot of people off. So he can't go back there in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Or it would be bad for him. But he's still, sympathetic to their cause and all that, and entirely open to trading, across the boundaries and stuff, because he's not as bound to the Horde as people who, have perhaps more of a tie to elven nationality would be. But it's a bit tricky because he can't really properly invest in that side of things. So he's, he has to kind of stay Horde.
Yeah.
But he's open to dabbling.
So he's a bit of a meddler, basically.
Yeah, he's a bit of a meddler, he's opportunistic.
I mean, pushing out more questions now, since off the top of my head, we've spoken about cross-faction and events with the cross-RP stuff, but I mean, is there any events that kind of make you feel like neutral is more fun to roleplay, basically? Like, has there been any events you've done with others, or among your guild groups, or even as solo people just looking to have some fun together, doing some sort of, sailing or whatever? Is there any moment that stands out to you as event-wise?
It was over a year ago now, but Jungle Fever was a multi-faction campaign that took place in Stranglethorn. And there were people playing neutral factions, the Venture Code specifically. And I didn't get to experience it firsthand, but it was very cool how they got to interact with both factions. They had a very unique perspective on everything. They could see it all, whilst the other, the Horde and Alliance, they could only see their respective sides.
All right.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it was the idea was that the Venture Core players that would try and manipulate both Horde and Alliance in different ways to achieve their goals alone. And it was just very cool how it all went down.
I think they managed to acquire the most territory by the end of it.
I thought that was the Alliance.
No, I think it was the Venture Co.
All right.
What about you guys, like?
Let's see. On a weekly basis, we do run the Tavern in the Mists on Pandaria. So that's a very good example for neutral P thriving. Let me think. We had a meeting on, was it August, July? Maybe an earlier. Hell, I don't even remember. There was a meeting in Pandaria where we had both Tushui and Huajin edging each other on to join the other faction, as well as the neutral Pandaren there. And it was very tense, but civilized. It was very interesting to be neutral there, but also not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because you could at the same time consider either faction character as well as consider Pandaria over either faction, or Pandaria, or joining either faction for Pandaria's safety. So there was a lot of room for neutrality there, and for a while I also had an event running that was, or a campaign rather, that was themed around what would later be Azerite, actually, as well as some sort of ancient Nafrizim alchemy, influencing the native wildlife or volunteers on Azeroth to become certain stronger mutations that would later on become either beasts that the Alliance or Horde would seek to tame, or certain hired mercenaries would seek to kill. So there will be some sort of dilemma of either getting a beast like that for your own faction, or simply killing it off for the good of the world.
Right.
And that would have been very interesting to even use cross RP on had it existed back when I was running the campaign. But it's certainly an interesting thing to consider maybe picking back up.
Yeah. Mentioning, going back earlier to the whole Magni and neutral orders, I came across a thread. I'm not sure if it was the thread for this, but it just came to my mind with the whole Champions of Azeroth. Do you think there's opportunity for playing of neutral roleplay there, where people can group together and mend Azeroth?
If there's any effort made toward it, yeah.
'Cause I believe
But the one problem I have is the whole concept of stealing Azeroth off the back of a cart. I mean, come on.
you're technically. I mean, the world quest obviously is to empower your weapons, so that, like, logically you're just empowering your weapon. But
everybody's collecting it.
everyone's
Even
collecting it.
Quillborg pirates.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity for neutral roleplay in that sense to kind of do stuff in Kul Tiras rather than focusing on, I don't know, for example, Stormsong Valley, where the Horde is kind of marching in and attacking the Artaerens there, basically. I don't know, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't have a. I'm sorry, I don't have anything particularly interesting to say on that.
Do you think it would provide an interesting aspect to roleplay, helping Magni out rather than helping your factions out?
Personally, not really. I find the whole mending the world with Magni part of the lore very boring and stale. So that's just because it doesn't interest me personally.
I can see them going that way, but I'm the same. I'm like, I'd rather they didn't. I'd rather there was something else.
I mean, it's material for heroic styled
Yeah,
epic hero kind of roleplay.
and
That is mostly DM'd and PvE, but other than that, there's not a lot of room for that sort of RP. Should be done in a meaningful way.
Very quickly.
Pardon?
I think it'd be very boring very quickly.
I suppose it would become a bit repetitive because you've kind of just got one aim in mind, which is to, protect and stop these fiends from getting all this Azerite. I thought I was going to add there. Nope, mine's gone blank.
Oh no.
That's very good. I'm having a forgetful day.
Goodbye, question.
I mean, is there anything that you'd wish, lore-wise, like with recent BFA, that you could change, maybe to fit neutral setting, or just in general, really?
Nothing too big regarding the faction war. More so, what happened in Drostvar with the witch arc.
Right.
I was a little disappointed with how the witches in Drostvar were just another massive army which you just need to punch.
Alright.
Yeah, if you're asking me, the only thing about BFA I really would have changed the hell out of was exactly that, because I don't know, the Drustvar seemed just like a flavor of the month sort of thing. I don't know.
See, I haven't played through Drustvar on Alliance side, but I know that when we went to set up our foothold there from Horde side, and those witches popped out, they creeped the hell out of me.
They were very
But maybe
creepy.
that's because I only got that little snapshot of them.
Yeah, I mean, they also creeped the hell out of Eitrick, but that's it.
I love that little interaction between him and Gizlik. Gizlik basically calling him a wuss.
Wow,
Not
wow.
Gizlik, sorry.
Gallywix.
Gallywix. Well, I mean, they're
Gallywix.
both goblins, and they have,
Gizlik.
yeah.
Oh,
Gallywix
That's
practically
slander
calling.
right there. That's what that is.
Listen you. One is a fat, so the other is a six-pack.
On his chin, yeah.
a pack of 6 chins.
Yeah, I like that little interaction between Gallywix and Eitrick, though. Like, Gallywix just
I love
calling him a
Gallywix's
wuss.
sudden turn as well. Also, I'm kind of the thing that I kind of fell in love with Gallywix is Orc Boys reminiscent trike with everyone hanging off. I'm just a Warhammer fan. Sorry, it's like it reminded me of the Orc Boys strikes from the old games. I was like, this is. So
Oh man,
cool.
I've been to the Motherlode just recently, and I love the fact that we get to drive a car.
I remember the question I was going to ask now.
There you go.
It was to do with campaigns. I believe there's been some neutral campaigns in the past. I can't say I've attended any myself. Maybe Gizlik has. Perhaps you could tell us a bit of a perspective from that and how it's different from these Horde versus Alliance campaigns where they're after an artifact or territory or just feel like bashing each other's heads in. What's the difference between those?
I mean, it's pretty much set up DM adventures, mostly, as well as some camp RP. There's not an awful lot of, if any, PvP going on there.
Has there been
So
any
it's-
compelling
it's-
stories that you've been through with it though?
Compelling stories. I mean, there used to be the Wings of Twilight, which is not related to the Shadows of Twilight, but I like to think they're both very compelling stories. One is about the Twilight's Hammer, the other is about a triad of cults converting to research, or rather converting to the Legion converting to former Legion Nafrazim,
Right.
who stole an artifact from the Legion, and it's a little complicated. But point is, if I had 5 minutes to tell a story, I probably would, with some preparation.
Well, I mean, you don't always get preparation.
Nope.
Speaking of which, I could tell you a bit of a neutral one myself. I'm not sure if I'll be making it Alliance versus Horde because it just brings complexities out. Here's a story I have, and it could probably form something nice or not. It's a basic idea. I was thinking of like ghostly pirate ships, like a council of pirates rising again, seeking to cause havoc and get all the pieces of a compass which guides them to wherever their heart most desire. So they'll be fighting for it against each other and kind of wreaking havoc in whatever place there is in Colterest. Do you think that would make for a good story for neutral wise?
I remember you saying you were thinking about different things this compass could do, and one of the things you threw out was it shows you the direction of your nearest enemy,
Yeah.
and I just thought that would be so good in terms of just a small, subtle, character-driven thing, because whoever has it will constantly be watching it and constantly trying to work out who around him
Yeah.
is his enemy. That it's just paranoia to the extreme. I think that would be delicious.
And then some kind of neutral assassin backstabs him.
Yeah,
That sounds pretty cool, actually, Fuse.
I did think about that, and I did think about the compass being only usable by whoever's bound their blood to it. So it'd be like it involves some sort of like
Oh,
blood
yes.
magic.
Heresy.
That sounds
Heresy.
pretty cool.
It just goes the extra mile of
Heresy, the campaign I've been mentioning, has been blood magic all over.
it's kind of like bounty
So
now
much
basically.
heresy.
But that's something I still haven't written down because I've been lazy about everything as I normally am.
If you poke and prod me, I could help you work things out.
Yeah, we could do that together. I think it would be something for, in terms, anyone basically, but also neutrals, you know. And the compass would be something that someone can keep because it's not overly OP or whatever. It's not something that lets you cleave 10 enemies in one blow like Sailfang.
Lots of followers of Gahoon in chat.
15 of them.
Alert the authorities.
Alright, well, I mean,
Oh.
unfortunately, Neutral has been shorter the chat than the Alliance versus Horde one, but I suppose there is so much you can say about
We're
it.
quick talkers.
Yeah. Or you just say profit like Gizak.
Just profit. Just profit. That's the reason.
I should
It's
just
true.
The answer
It's
to
the answer
everything.
to all questions.
I should just retitle this to profit rather than neutrality.
Neutrality equals profit. Conversation over.
But yeah, if you have any questions in chat you want to add to anything that's been, you know, asked, feel free to do so. Meanwhile, I'm just going to say, obviously follow if you want to hear more. This will be placed up on YouTube. There's obviously Discord you can join. And actually, in one addition that Marikai suggested was perhaps putting the cams up for me and her, maybe the guests as well, who, if
We
they,
need to get a screen. A nice screen for it.
yeah, if they ever wish to join, we could set, you know, that whole frame up, or just put me and her as well. That could work.
Yeah.
But it could be something in the future. You get to look at my glorious beard.
I have a question for you. If you were caught in the crossfire, how would you act?
Yeah, how would you guys act if you were caught in the crossfire?
Well, number one, take cover.
Is step 3 profit?
Wait
We have to work-
wait for whoever falls down and then go
Reverse
for the
engineer it
winning
from
side.
profit. Assess the situation. Find the winner. Profit.
Exactly, but first take cover.
Okay. So, do you mean like if the
Let me paint the scenario for you. You know the scene where the goblins are escaping Kazan and they get shot out in the crossfire between a fight and the Alliance and the Horde? Imagine you being the goblins in the center. So
sorry, what did you say first? That
You-
just completely
you
went,
know
that
the-
just went through me.
you know the Bilgewater cinematic after you complete the scenario, the starting zone in Kazan.
Ah,
Your
right,
ship
okay.
kind of sails away and it's caught in the crossfire of Horde and Alliance. That's
Oh,
I
no,
think
this
that's
I
what
can
they
relate
mean, basically.
Assess the situation, decide the winner, and then, if the winner happens to be Alliance, shoot the Horde ships. If not, just get out. If you can.
Just get out, get lost.
Yeah, with new. I find
Run
a
for
key
the
part of
hills.
neutrality is you put your own life before the good doing of the faction. Well doing. Fortune. That's right. A mirror 1E, right after Night Elves.
I thought you were going to say
I'm
right
walking.
after walking. There we go.
Yeah, I'm walking.
But walking there at the bottom.
There's a lot of goblin love.
This is a goblin stream. You knew that when you joined this.
I'm
Yeah.
so used to walking. Hey, it's just part of the job.
Any more questions to ask?
I have an answer for a previous question.
Did you not? Okay, go for it. Shoot.
Is there anything you wish you could change in the storyline regarding BFA? Yes, I'd like the Horde to get the heck out of Borealis.
How
Yeah, but what
dare
about-
you!
what
It's so
about the,
pretty. You have to share.
You know that little corner of Borealis where you get the world quest and the Horde are just there somehow, apparently, and you got like 3 culturist guards just like gently poking at this tiny, tiny Horde invasion that's just in its own little pocket, just out of nowhere. It is so weird. It shouldn't be there. It makes no sense at all that there's just
Oh,
a handful
the
of Hordes.
infiltration of Proudmoore University.
Is it a university? It looks like a
I remember what it is. Academy.
I think
Something
it's
like
the
that.
Ties Sage area, isn't it?
No, it's the
Strategic
actual.
No.
Strong point.
Wait, what are you talking?
Take over a school.
In
No,
Borealis,
yeah,
you've got the rich area where the
Yeah.
like the palaces. At the corner, you've got Horde attacking. And for whatever reason, they're not being secretive about it. They're going around burning stuff.
Listen, we're never secretive about anything.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, but
well,
that's-
they were secretive about poisoning all the night elves.
That kind of is the proud
You've
more.
got like 4 guards, just that's it. 4 guards. You know, they've got this, this big garrison and everything, and it's just, how do you even respond to that in RP? You're there walking about, having a drink in the wealthy area of Borellis. Oh look, the goblins are invading. Okay, I'll just carry on having my drink.
Nothing
I
to
could-
hear.
That's
Actually,
tomorrow's problem.
I actually kind of remember how they got in there in the first place. Thing is, they drew the. It's kind of stupid story writing. They drew the Proudmoore elite out of Borellos to attack them in whatever the place was called. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, we've seen your question, by the way. Don't worry, we'll get to it in a bit.
Plunder Harbor. And that is when they made the Telemancer Okulev teleport them right into Borellos, along with the Tide Sage they'd made of Forsaken. And the original goal was just to steal a wand.
So
A
what
little
to
bit
do?
of a spoiler there.
Oh, yeah. That is a part of the war campaign. No, I mean, I wouldn't call it a spoiler at this point. You've had a month to play it. Come on, guys.
A lot of the war campaign, it seems to be, especially when you get to doing it in the Alliance side, seems to be just picking important Alliance people and turning them into Forsaken for the giggles. Just to piss people off. That
The
seems to
only
be their
thing I'm pissed
strategy.
off about...
Well, like their number one objective, spite.
Yeah, just to piss them off.
The only thing I'm pissed off about is the fact that those Risen Alliance I can't even say it now. Soldiers? There we go. I was going to say shoulders.
Risen Alliance shoulders.
Those ones are able to wear hats and still have their hair dangling down rather than going bald automatically.
That's truly the crime here.
That is the real crime here.
Need to make another war crimes book.
Alright,
But here.
there was a question. Are there any active neutral RP communities that you'd recommend people to join? I mean,
When you mean communities, do you mean guilds or like actual like communities?
both could work probably
Yeah,
if
do
they're
we
looking
know
for
of
RP.
any of both?
There is a Champions of Azeroth I mentioned with the whole Magni idea in mind, where healing Azeroth and all that stuff.
I mean, there's the Mistfall community that's trying to push for more RP in Pandaria.
Isn't
go.
there like the Uncrowned community? Does that exist?
There's the Uncrowned community. There is
It is
the
still there.
Irving
There's
Ring
Uncrowned.
community. I think there's a monk community. I know there's a DK community because Zanjari in my Discord has been pushing towards it quite a bit. They asked me to link the Discord into the chat as well. So I mean, if you want to check out some communities, there are Discords
Yeah.
listed on.
There's also the Urban Ring community that is having a meeting in October.
Yeah,
Do we have room for shameless plugs at the end of this?
yeah, you do.
Nice.
We'll make room.
Except you. No, I'm joking.
No, okay. No, I don't blame you. Who wants to listen?
It's the fact that you're RPing a Worgen, that's why.
Okay. Someone's getting kicked from the guild.
Yeah. At least I'll get away from all the puppies.
And the smell of
There's
wet
actually-
You hear that chat? Fuse hates puppies.
I like my puppies. I don't like puppies walking around on 2 legs. Shouting, "For Gilneas, mate."
Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent.
There's actually a community thread that hasn't been sticked
Yeah.
at all. Might as well link it if I can. Is it possible, or do you have a bot?
You can link it in the Twitch chat. There's no bot blocking at the moment.
Cool, yeah.
I will be adding a
So
bot when I
basically-
get lazy. Gizlek tends to know more of the neutral side of things than I do.
because he's
Only because I'm told.
See? Yeah, there's a list of it. Yeah, I should probably link this on the Discord as well, but yeah, I think I have some of the Discords. I should maybe start
Yeah.
adding some of the communities there as well.
Also, please report for sticky or whatever the cool kids do these days.
whatever the cool kids
I don't
do.
think you can actually poke it for a sticky, can you? No, not anymore.
Damn it.
They,
We're so out of touch.
they removed that. They
I
removed
remember
that
the
with
days when you had to report for a sticky.
yeah.
A sticky, what now?
Basically, have your thread put on top of the like first page all the time.
Oh, right, okay, so that's what that means. I thought
Yeah.
you meant, like, just like putting a sticker on your monitor.
No, as in a sticky.
We have a question from Von Junkenstein.
What do you think of the goal of the Horde War campaign being Marshal Valentine's resurrection to just toss him away at the last quest?
Like I said, spite is literally the only driving force it would appear.
I mean, I don't even understand what happened.
I've only just done the quest. I'm not finished it yet. So basically, what happens is some Alliance ships got sank. I believe it was part of the Proudmoore fleet, and the Horde go out and dive and search until they find Captain Valentine's body. I think Derek Proudmoore was there too.
Yeah.
And they retrieve the bodies and they turn them into Forsaken, as they've been doing all over.
Tell you what I think of that.
Culturals.
That's pretty rude.
Pretty rude.
Pretty rude.
Yeah. Nephinos is basically just fishing for intelligence rather than people. So,
It's an interesting war campaign, actually.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Meanwhile, the Alliance one is kind of just filling people with arrows.
I enjoyed the Alliance one, but I don't think it had as much depth as the Horde one. Like in the sense, again, you said Nephinos gaining intel, whereas Alliance is just going in there.
Putting arrows into people. It was actually quite embarrassing how the 7th Legion got into Baldoon. And they basically did no homework, knew nothing.
Yeah.
Although they do have their priorities set right. The first outpost they established in Baldoon had a mailbox. Before it had anything.
Priorities. Do you know there's so few of the Horde outposts in Culturas that have mailboxes? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, you have a Longboy, so you can't complain.
I don't have
Do
a mailbox.
boys have mailboxes?
No,
Oh,
I
no,
do
wait,
not.
they don't. Yeah, but
The
you
mailbox
have an
is the
engineer.
crucial missing ingredient.
You have an engineer that can make a mailbox. Also, I'm pretty sure everyone by now has the pet that also provides you with a mailbox.
I don't.
Wow.
I do have the pet,
Go
but he doesn't last long enough for me to reset all my auctions, unfortunately. So I usually need a legitimate mailbox.
Well, if there's no more questions, I guess we'll start, closing off again.
Closure 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, as mentioned, YouTube, it'll be up there for those who haven't watched it, if you want to share it with others. Discord, you can join that or not, it's up to you.
If you're looking for those communities and stuff, I believe Fuse has a really good list of them in his Discord. So if you
Yeah, I
jump in
do.
there, you'll find those there.
There's all the Discord communities there. I'll start adding the communities that Gizlik has pinned up as well. Yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching. And
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Gracias.
Next,
Thanks
Thanks,
very much.
folks.
next week I believe we're talking about PvP, RP, PvP. And obviously after
Content.
that we'll have a spotlight night.
I need to get on that.
Yeah.
I do.
A spotlight night.
I will do it.
It's basically where we have a guild interviewed and then we talk about the upcoming events for that month or
I asked the questions, so you don't have to.
Yeah, we basically put a spotlight on a guild and any events that are coming up in the next month.
Yeah.
On the realm.
Hey, we should do that, Fuse. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Hey, hey.
We
I
take
was
it faction.
yeah, we were doing
about,
faction.
So we did Alliance last time, so we're going to do a Horde guild this time. So it's going to be an Alliance guild in October.
Yeah, and if you want to come in October,
Is this like an end of the month thing?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, cool.
we can do a spooky Halloween interview as well. Yeah, thanks for joining us. See you guys.
Alright, in a bit,
Hi,
chat.
friends.